Bobby Bowden passed this week. And, Bobby was college football for my generation, Matt generation.
Right.
You and I, Matt, we grew up during his run of 14 straight top 4 AP finishes is just staggering. Even as great as Alabama has been over the last, decade plus, they're not going to top that in all likelihood. A couple of years ago, they finished 8th, in the AP poll. So what he did, it really brought college football to the next level. But Bruce, I know that, you got to cover him a little bit as you were cutting your teeth and just getting into the industry. It wasn't just about the wins and losses and the success for Bobby Bowden. It was really about him as a man.
Right. And I think there was a charm to him I felt like it was kind of different. And the way I would describe it is coming up, I was relatively new to the national college football beat. And I was much younger then, in my late 20s. And being around him, the thing that really jumped out at me right away was, I would describe it as, he was shockingly accessible and shockingly approachable. And what I mean by that is, I would consider him a Mount Rushmore kind of football coach.
Yeah.
And the other coaches who I would say were of that caliber, and there weren't many of them, they did not have the same kind of aura about him that Bobby Bowden did, where it just felt like it wasn't, I don't want to call it like an everyman quality, because he still had just he was just so personable. That's not, everyman is not like that, but he was just really, really just easy to be around and made you feel comfortable. And so, I know I mentioned this to Matt offline, but like Travis Johnson, who is a big time defensive lineman from Southern California, I once did a big story on Bobby Bowden at ESPN magazine, and Travis really took over the story and was just talking about how Bobby Bowden gets us. And he just talked about how he related and connected to players. And remember, at that point, Bobby Bowden was probably around 70. So it wasn't like he wasn't older at that point. I just feel like his ability to make people feel comfortable, make people feel like he genuinely cared about them as people and their families, that was very authentic. And so, the success was remarkable. Part of the reason why, I think, was because he was so true to himself in a business where it's not always that easy for people to do that. And a lot of guys can't do that. He could. It was a gift. And he's just had a really unique gift, and he made a difference in a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah. Oh, real quick. I never had the pleasure and honor to meet Coach Bowden, but Joel, you said that era and just the time is when I first got into college football. So I was always like Florida State, Charlie Ward, Chris Wenke. I mean, the 90s when I really first got into college football. And then now, when a legend like this in our game passes, you kind of go back and think like, wow, like just what he meant. And then I was fortunate to play for Pete Carroll, who will probably go down as one of the best college football coaches of all time, and just what he did in that run. And we were around Urban, and now we're around Bob Stoops, just very legendary coaches for what they did for their programs. And Bobby Bowden and Bruce, I love hearing that stories, because the great coaches really have an impact on the young men off the field, listening to Danny Cannell, who's a buddy of all of ours, talk about Coach Bowden, and you just mentioned Travis Johnson, who's a good buddy of mine from LA. You just see the impact. And although I never met him and knew him personally, I feel it because of what college football is and how much I love it and how much we all love that sport. So just sending a lot of love and prayers to the Bowden family, not just the Florida State family as well, but just college football, because we really did lose truly a great one.
Joel, one other thing just to button it up on this. Mm-hmm. As Matt was saying, it dawned on me that like a lot of these big time coaches, at least in college football, there's a lot of people who, if they don't know them or they're at the wrong school, they really kind of hate them or resent them. You can rattle off some coaches of that era, and people are like, yeah, I never liked that guy, I root against his team. I didn't feel like there were many people who were out there who didn't like or respect Bobby Bowden when he coached. They felt like they really liked him. And he was harder to root against, certainly, than some of the other coaches of that caliber, close to that caliber, especially in the 90s, late 80s, early 2000s. That was another thing that made him, I think, different than some of these other guys that, from that era.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Sad to see, there's no doubt. And certainly, we got the reaction not only from Florida State, but other programs. This is what Florida State sent out via their official Twitter account. Today, we lost a legend, but you never lose a legacy. Rest in peace, Coach Bowden. And of course, you know, FSU is synonymous with Miami and those legendary battles of the early 90s and the field goals missed and made in those matchups in Miami, as every great rival should, respecting the other side with their own sentiment. Our condolences to the Bowden family and the Florida State football program on the passing of Bobby Bowden, who was instrumental in making the FSU rivalry one of the greatest in college football. Rest in peace, Coach.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here, College Football on Fox.